Margaret Production, and welcome to this, a 10-day odyssey stretching from the Outback to the ocean with a group from the Wanneroo Wanderers 4-wheel drive club. Grab your gear, let's go. Well, I'm just making my way to a meet-up point, which is about an hour east of Perth. Some members of the club live outside the city, and some are going straight to the first night campsite, which is about 5 hours east of Perth. There could be as many as 17 or 18 cars in this group on this trip, which means we might have problems finding bush camps big enough to accommodate 18 vehicles. It'll also mean whenever we refuel and have pit stops and the like, we could be there perhaps longer than we'd like, but we'll figure it out. Right, well, there's 11 in this group, so we must be meeting 7 or 8, I guess, at the campsite tonight. They'll be making their own way there. I noticed that some guys have updated their 4-wheel drives for different reasons, I guess. Anyway, we've got probably about a 5-hour trip ahead of us. We'll pull over once or twice for a rest break. We're just approaching a place called Yellowdine. There's an area where we're going to camp nearby. We've only covered 360 kilometres today. It's been a lot of roadworks, which has slowed everybody down quite a bit. And obviously, the more vehicles you have in any group, the slower it's going to be. But we'll pull up here this evening and probably meet some others later on this evening. There is some infrastructure left here from back in the day. I think this was a place where they topped up the steam locomotives with water and timber. First day, first problem. Richard pulled up back down the road a few kilometres. He had a squeal or a squeak in the front left-hand wheel, and he and I both thought it might have been a stone or a rock that's been picked up and just sort of rubbing on the inside against his disc or the backing plate. It hasn't dislodged itself yet, which surprises me, so he's going to pull the wheel off, the left-hand front wheel, and we'll have a look and see what we can find.
It didn't go under the wishbone. There we go.
As we suspected, there was a bit of blue metal from the roadworks that had caught between the disc rotor and the backing plate. So he's learned something new.
There's a good chance.
Give him time.
I would have. Can we just go up, or do you want me to?
We'll be joined by another latecomer. This is John in his Hilux. Sunday, morning of day 2. We've got about a 2 or 3 hour drive to Kalgoorlie. We'll stop there for a little while, probably have a bite to eat, refuel top up with fuel and anything else that people may have forgotten about, and then start heading towards Laverton via what they call Yarry Road. So after Kalgoorlie, it'll be pretty much unsealed roads for the next week or so. It's been a fairly long transit. By the time we get to Kalgoorlie, it'll be about 600 k's. Yeah, Yellowdine, this place, as I said before, used to be a stopover point for locos to fill up with water. There's actually looks like an old platform there. They used to gather the water by channeling it off the rocks, granite rocks, which is typical for a lot of places around here. And they just channel the water into a dam. They just got ruined. Caravan has rolled over on Great Eastern Highway. What happened, mate? You have a near miss, did you?
Fuck me, mate. Fucking dickhead.
Which way was the van going?
That way. And he's come cut in front of me. Well, I'm coming towards him and he's pulled out and tried to fit in between the truck and the car. He couldn't fit, so we slung it into the bush.
Jesus.
Fuck.
Go and buy yourself a lottery ticket, mate.
Fuck.
Hey, you know the Chrome won't get you home.
Black at the back.
You can see that he's been travelling in this direction. He's just, I guess he's had to spear off the road to avoid a collision. Are they alright?
Yeah, they're all fine. I think there's no phone coverage, so we need a satellite phone probably. We've got phone coverage. Oh, you have? Yeah. But they're all right. No one's been no, but they want to be. I've got phone coverage on that gas.
On the bridge?
There's no phone coverage here. Somebody within the group are going to get their satellite phone, contact emergency services. Well, I'm not quite sure what happened. I think the van had tried to overtake somebody, possibly the semi. That biker was certainly shaken. Well, just entering Kalgoorlie now. While we've been transiting along this stretch, I've seen a couple of emergency vehicles heading west, obviously to the accident site. The priority now is to refuel, pick up any supplies that people think they need, and then we'll join up on the edge of town and start heading towards Laverton. Right, we're leaving Kalgoorlie now. Our numbers have swollen now to 17. But the thing about this trip, like all of them, is you can hop on and hop off when it suits you. You know, some people might only be with us for 2, 3 or 4 days, and others will remain here for the entire journey. So these sorts of things are always designed for flexibility. So yeah, you can hop on or hop off at any time that suits you. Alright, we've found what looks like a disused quarry. We'll pull up here for the evening. Been a bit of drizzle this afternoon. There's been some water on the side of the road. Hope it doesn't get any worse.
Well, she was.
Well, just arriving at Laverton. This will be the last opportunity to resupply, probably for the next maybe 3 or 4 days. So yeah, we'll be pretty much off the grid. No Telstra signal, certainly no ability to refuel or resupply after today. And the next resupply is just a roadhouse called Balladonia. And other than fuel, there's not going to be too much there to resupply. So we'll spend an hour or so here. Some people might take the opportunity to have a shower, either at the roadhouse or the caravan park, and then we'll meet up and leave and yeah, start heading further outback, I guess. Just pulled over to have a look at an old pioneer cemetery near a place called Burtville. Must have been I don't know, small gold mining community back in the day. But there's a cemetery there maintained by the Pioneer Grave Markers, a volunteer organisation. But there's a number of graves there marked suicide by gelignite. I don't know, there just seems to be too many to seem like a coincidence. And I've never seen that sort of thing before, so I'd be a bit suspicious, I think.
Something was put on it that she didn't. She said, "Oh no."
Everybody's out looking for the remains of what used to be a pub here in Burtville. Apparently it was a gold mining community. There were a number of pubs here, but all that's left now is some splinters of fence lines, very little else. We're off one of the major roads and now on the Lake Race-on track. Straight away the conditions have deteriorated quite significantly and it could be like this for the next couple of days, I think. Well, we just turned off the main track going to the Mallee Hen rock hole. They've clearly had a bit of rainfall here lately. There's been quite a bit of water on the track, So maybe there's water in the rock hole. Well, I guess we'll know soon enough. But we're going to have a bush camp here for the evening. All right, I'll just check.
In there.
Well, we're having a late start this morning, and we're just looking for this mallee hen rock pool. We've been given a rough idea on where it is. It's just a matter of finding it. Oh, found it. Bingo. It's not very deep.
No, that's worse.
Don't try. Yeah.
Could be a dead reel in the bottom.
Yeah, but it was really hot when I
No, you weren't supposed to.
Some of the conditions have deteriorated quite quickly. There's a few corrugations, so most of us have aired down to about 25 or 30 psi. It just softens the ride a little, the tyres take some of the shock. Just making our way to Tiger Trap Gully, only because it's a spot on the map, and we figure if you've come this far, you might as well check out every possibility. There are some tricky bits along the way.
Just following the leader. What do they call it? Tiger trap.
I'm over the hill, John. Do you copy there? Come back.
Yeah, I've got a couple of codes showing on my car. The code reader says I've got problems with my power circuit, so I can't put my windows up or down. I've got no aircon, but it'll take 20 minutes or more to find it, so I'll push on till the lunch spot and then hopefully let the car cool down and then have a good look around.
Well, it sounds like one of the blokes has got electrical problems with his car, Toyota Hilux. No power to the windows or air conditioning, which would make for a pretty uncomfortable ride. We're going to see if we can find a place in the shade so that everybody can pull up and have lunch, in the hope that his car will cool down a bit, and then we'll do some fault finding and see if we can fix the problem. It might just be fuses, but it might be something else. But it might be something more serious than that.
That one comes every half an hour.
All right, Brains Trust, what are we thinking?
Most of this is to do with air intake.
You never know, maybe a drop it.
I got
Eh? Oh!
No, it hasn't been tried. Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. They keep persevering, trying to find the fault. They've not been able to do that, but they've been able to short circuit one of the windows and actually got that down. So at least he'll have some ventilation flowing through, so he's not going to melt while he's driving. But, yeah, they keep persevering, making small inroads. Well, we're mobile. We've lost a couple of hours. Not that that matters. I mean, time is not critical for this trip. They tried everything in their bag of tricks. And in the end, yeah, they ended up short-circuiting the electric windows. At least now we've got some flow-through ventilation. He just mentioned his speedo wasn't working. So the ABS light's on, speedo's not working, no air conditioning, obviously, you know, a relay or something on. So obviously there's some major issues there from an electrical point of view. My guess is he'll have a pretty uneasy trip now, because not knowing, you know, what is the next thing that's going to fail. We'll pull up in a couple of hours, and I guess he'll continue to try and isolate the problem then. Was he just on the road?
Yeah, just on the road. I just missed him.
Well, not far, not long before we arrive at a thing called 7 Miller's Shack. I think I've been there before a little while ago. I think it's locally known as the Shooter Shack. From memory, it overlooks Lake Rayson, which I think is probably a dry salt lake. And we weren't going to stay there. We were just going to call in, have a look around, and then keep going. But I think because we've lost a couple of hours today, we'll probably end up camping there overnight. If we are going to stay at this shack, my guess is it'll be devoid of firewood. So we're going to pull over now and just collect some firewood before we get there. These portable electric chainsaws make the going a lot easier.
Oh, they're still the same ones that came with the...
Richard's done a sidewall. He's yeah, just nicked the side of a stump. And that was enough to yeah, rip the sidewall open. So he's got some work to do. Yeah, somebody's gone to a lot of trouble to establish the place. The history of it is pretty much on the walls in photographs. Like, I don't know, a few brothers, all of the Wanner family, decided to come here and establish the hut, and probably come here for, I don't know, a couple of times a year, just to get away from the big smokes, to come here and relax, I guess. We've got some house rules on the door, which basically read, you know, be nice and pay some respect. But I think all they do is come here with a generator, start the generator and plug it into the place that's been plumbed for 240 volts. Oh Jesus, looks like open heart surgery in here. Happy hour at the Shooter Shack. Well, on a positive note, one of the club members, Kim, has been able to do a bit of fault finding and figured out that, yeah, effectively it was a couple of blown fuses. So John is back on the road with air conditioning and electric windows. So yeah, that's a good outcome. We're leaving a bit earlier today, 8 a.m, primarily to sort of make up a little bit of time for what we lost yesterday. I was just in the shack here having a look around, just because I've got a few minutes to spare. There's a visitor's book there, and you know, I wouldn't call it a constant stream of people that come through here, but it certainly has a trickle, you know, several days between visits and stuff. But yeah, if only these walls could speak. Somebody's obviously gone to a lot of trouble to provide these facilities. Yeah, good spot. Well, we're away the morning of day 5, so effectively, I guess, halfway through the trip. As I said before, yeah, we've left a little bit earlier than normal, just to try and make up a bit of lost time. I don't know our destination for this evening. We'll figure it out as we go, depending on how many problems and issues we have. That tyre of Richard's yesterday evening, or yesterday afternoon, that's a write-off.
About 8 or 10 k's, there's a bit of a lookout on the left. I don't think it's too far in.
That tyre's a write-off. It's the sidewall's been damaged, so you couldn't even attempt to plug that. There's enough vehicles within the group. If he has another puncture, we'll either plug it and repair that puncture, or stick another wheel from another vehicle on it. We'll do a workaround somehow. We've been on this track now, this is our 3rd day. They're the first vehicles we've seen. You wouldn't want to get stuck out here. Another puncture. Different car, Greg this time. Front left. But, yeah, sidewall again.
No, there's not this, there's not different ones.
Things just got a little more complicated. He's got mags, alloy rims on the car, but his spare is a steel rim, and the wheel nuts off his alloys won't fit the steel rim. So I've taken 2 off my car, and one of the other blokes is going to take a couple off his, and we'll get enough on it so the wheel doesn't fall off. Just goes to show you, I don't know, you need to test your systems at home before you come out here and it all goes pear-shaped, you know. Steve's going to get a couple from somewhere.
Yeah.
You'd like, it's got to be tapered.
You're thinking we put 2 there
See
and
this
2
cone
here?
here?
Yep.
If it was cut off there,
I suggested, worst case, we could swap the tyres over. That is, take the tyre off the rim we can't use and swap the tyres over. We can't even do that. He's running 17-inch tyres. The spare is a 16-inch. It's a handbag with a lot, isn't it? Eh? Bit of everything.
That one.
15, 16s.
Doesn't believe me.
Well, we're back underway. We probably only lost 30 minutes. It's not that big a deal. But having odd tyres like that, odd sizes, thankfully it's gone on the front, and we've suggested that he just leave it in rear wheel drive, because with different size tyres on the front, his differential would be always working. Might not be much, but it would always be making allowances for those odd size tyres on either side. So without with it just in rear-wheel drive, all the front wheels have to do now is roll, and if the conditions get a bit sticky, then yeah, you can use four-wheel drive to get out of it. But, yeah, I guess it's only when these sort of things happen that you find out what the shortcomings are, and in this case, yeah, he's running 17-inch alloys but with a 16-inch spare. Not perfect. We've had brilliant sunshine all day, in particular this morning, and now we're about to pull up and find a camp, and it's starting to rain.
The first time I bought my car. Let's do it silently.
Well, morning of day 6, beautiful day, clear skies, mild temperatures. One bloke left early yesterday, Larry and Jane. They had to return to Perth for business, and because we've had a couple of punctures, sidewalls that can't be repaired, and unfortunately both of those cars only ran one spare, what we may find is once we get onto the Trans-Australian Railway line, they might hightail it back towards Kalgoorlie in the hope that they can get their tyres sorted out, and perhaps join us later on, or alternatively from there they'll slap it back home. So I guess that's the risk you run if you only carry one spare tyre. Sometimes there are some benefits in carrying a second spare. Well, we've just left the main track. We're on a side track leading to Plumage Lakes. Apparently there's a viewing area there. I spoke to one bloke who was coming out, and he reckons, yeah, it's worth the trip. It's about 4.5 k's in, so we'll go and have a look at that. We're still on the Lake Racing track. This is the 4th day we've been on this track. Parts of it have been pretty tough going, slow going certainly. Yeah, mostly twin track. We're about to get off this and start heading south on the Cantu highway. Yeah, highway. It's no highway. It's it's a dirt unsealed road, but the going will be a little bit quicker than what it has been for us for the last 4 days at least. And I'm not suggesting we'll be able to make up time, but at least we'll be able to cover a bit more ground a bit quicker. Well, we're on the Cantu highway, a lot of carnage on this road. We've only been on it for about 15 minutes and I've already seen probably 4 or 5 wrecks, a couple that are quite fresh. We've now swung off the Cantu highway. The Cantu heads due south towards Rawlinna on the Trans-Australian Railway line. We're on now what they call the Cut Road, which links the Trans-Australian Railway line through to an Aboriginal community. So yeah, that's we're heading southwest now towards the Trans-Australian Railway line maintenance road. I was doing back there was, yesterday I gave Greg and Lynn 2 of my wheel nuts, one off each front wheel, and Steve did the same thing. So they had 4 wheel nuts holding their left-hand front on, just to get them out of trouble. Now they're going to go to Kalgoorlie, and I was never going to see my nuts again. So I've just taken 4 off. Okay, well now we've got 11. Anyway, that old Toyota was on the side of the road, and the wheel nuts were compatible with my car, so I've taken 4 nuts off that, 2 for me and 2 for Steve. A lot of debris on the side of the road, some of it which we can actually use for a change. One of the cars towards the front mentioned that there was a wheel and a jerry can sitting in the middle of the road. Anyway, I pulled up alongside it. The jerry can, although empty, looked brand new, and the wheel is a 17-inch, and there's enough tread on it that would get you out of trouble. I didn't check whether it was 5 or 6 stud, but because Richard and Greg are following the railway line back to Kalgoorlie, they might be able to use that as an emergency spare. So we'll find out more when we pull up in an hour or 2. The Jeep Cherokee has had a blowout. Must be the time of the day or something. Well, while Dave was swapping out his puncture on the Cherokee, we took the opportunity just to break the bead on this tyre that we found on the side of the road. It's a 17-inch tyre, but a 5-stud rim. We can't use the rim, but we can certainly use the tyre. So just gone and broken the bead using a jack and the tow bar of the vehicle. When we get to camp, we'll break the other side and then swap the tyres over. So at least they'll have one good spare between the 2 cars heading towards Kalgoorlie. It's a good opportunity for these guys who, don't have the experience or the knowledge. It's a good opportunity to show them what they can do out in the field if they ever get stranded. And I guess that's another beauty of the club. Collectively there's quite a bit of knowledge within the club.
That's what you did, Dave?
That tyre's ruined, so it doesn't really matter whether you destroy it anymore. Yeah, keep going.
Down about 1.5 inches.
Yeah, keep going. And
Before you do that,
you wouldn't know what a miniskirt was, would you?
Oh, yes, she does.
I think she saw him that morning when I spoke to her.
Day off and discharge.
well, we're about to leave for the morning. My guess is there's going to be a few anxious people within the group. 3 cars, once we hit the Transcontinental Railway line, will make their way towards Kalgoorlie. There's only 1 spare tyre between the 3 of them, and that spare tyre will only fit 2 of the cars. So they've got about 400 kilometres to go, I guess. So if anything should happen, it could be a long wait for them. The rest of us, we're going to continue heading south, hit the Trans-Australian Railway line, and then continue heading south again to Balladonia, which is our next resupply for fuel and water. Well, we've just crossed the Trans-Australian Railway line. We've hit the road that runs alongside that. It's 260 kilometres to Kalgoorlie. That's where those three cars are headed now. And we're going to go along this road, not very far, and then continue heading south towards Balladonia. I'm not quite sure whether we're going to make it today because it's only early, but the going could be a bit rough in there. Well, that Xanthus, which is an old railway siding, it's abandoned now. They all are. But we were supposed to be heading south towards Balladonia from here, but I've heard the road's closed. So I think they're coming up with a plan now. But on a positive note, we found good quality water here. because the stuff of Belladonias, it comes out of the ground and it's horrible to drink, that's for sure. No, got my wires crossed. It's not the road south of Balladonia. It's the road south of here. Yeah, so we're going to have to take a bypass somehow. I think they're thinking about heading towards Kalgoorlie, and then we'll come up with a plan from there. Kalgoorlie's about, I don't know, 230 k's from here, I guess. Oh, good road, unsealed, but good high-speed gravel road. So yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. And we only found out that road was closed by chance because there was a group of caravanners coming up here, and one of them mentioned it. Otherwise, we might have got halfway down there and become stuck, stranded. Well, we're just entering the outskirts of Kalgoorlie. Kalgoorlie, of course, is all about the gold, the super pit. We'll probably only be here long enough, I think, to refuel and get any essential supplies, and then we're going to start heading south towards Esperance. When we get into Kalgoorlie, we would have done a full circle, and we weren't meant to be coming back this way, but because of road closures, we didn't really have a lot of options. So yeah, we'll get what we need to get and start heading south. Well, we're leaving Kalgoorlie now, we're heading south towards Esperance Way. Those people who had problems with the tyres, 2 vehicles in particular, they've been able to get new tyres locally here in Kalgoorlie. They left earlier this morning than us, and so they're back on the road, and in fact they've rejoined the group. So now we must have about, I don't know, 12 cars I think in the group.
Ruined there, and so.
Well, yesterday we were in the Outback. Today we're at the beach on the coast. Because of that closed road yesterday, we've now diverted to a place called Munglanup, I think it is. The club members have been here before. Apparently it's not bad for beach driving and that sort of thing. So we'll stay here perhaps for a couple of nights and then take it from there. We just had a quick look at the beach. Strong winds, but apparently that's normal for this part of the world. We're actually going to stay at the caravan park for the next 2 nights, which will be good. That'll give us access to electricity and I guess the camp kitchen and showers, because I like to shower at least once a week, whether I need it or not, and I probably need it like a lot of the other people within the group. So yeah, it's only mid-afternoon now. We'll make our way to the caravan park and settle in for the night.
Terry.
I think it's at 2. Well, me too, in lots of ways, even though.
Well, the weather's turned pretty nasty. Cold, windy, very windy, rain. I think.
We got everyone? Yep. Just going to go and have a little bit of track down here. I don't know whether we can get into it or not. Otherwise, I might have to just come back this way.
Yeah, we're just going to do some local exploring around the Fitzgerald coast and Munglanup. I've not been in this part of the region before. But, yeah, we'll go and have a look around. I don't know if we're going to see the beach today. Just bearing down to about 20 psi. We've just got off the main road and it's already pretty soft here. We've gone down to, well, I've gone down to 20 initially. We'll see how bad it gets. If need be, we'll go down to 15, maybe 12. So that's damn soft. A few PSI can make all the difference. I'm down to about 15 now. I believe Kim's turned around and he's down at the axles. So we'll go and check it out, eh? Well, the first bloke made it look easy, but of course, the more vehicles we get up this hill, the more chopped up it's going to become. And I'm last in the group. Well, let's see how we go, eh? The weather is absolutely horrible. A lot of the others have relocated. They got rooftop tents and stuff like that, and it's just not working out for them. So they've relocated to a more sheltered part of the caravan park, and one bloke has actually hired a cabin because all his bedding was wet. So yeah, not pleasant conditions for camping. Well, a horrible night last night. Strong winds, constant rain, sometimes quite heavy. And although we were supposed to be on the road for another couple of days after this following the coastline, I think most people are cutting their losses and heading back to Perth. But anyway, look, if this is the final approach, you know what that means? See you on the other side.